I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
Now,
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Hey, where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second.
I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. Those words are ringing out louder than ever right now. You've probably seen the clip floating around the internet. A 15-year-old kid with a side-swept haircut standing next to one of the most powerful men in music. They called it 48 Hours with Diddy. At the time, it looked like a teenager's ultimate dream. Fast cars, mansions, and the keys to the kingdom. But looking back at it today, with everything we now know, that dream looks a lot more like a nightmare. The Diddy trial isn't just a legal battle anymore. It's becoming an unraveling of the entire music industry's darkest secrets. While the mainstream networks are trying to keep it professional, the streets and the internet know the real story is happening behind the scenes. From sealed testimonies to hushed conversations in the back of courtrooms, the tension is reaching a breaking point. And right at the center of this storm is Justin Bieber. The footage that changed everything. For a long time, the world wondered why Justin Bieber went so quiet every time Diddy's name came up. But according to new reports circulating through the industry, that silence has officially broken. Sources close to the case are claiming that Justin has dropped something major, alleged leaked footage that is reportedly tied to his time spent with the mogul years ago. Now, we have to be clear here. Rumors suggest this isn't just internet gossip or a secondhand story told by a friend of a friend. We are talking about actual video evidence that has reportedly made its way into the legal teams. If you believe the insiders, Diddy is absolutely furious. He's been scrabbling behind the scenes, and honestly, can you blame him? If this footage paints the damning picture that people say it does, it pulls back the curtain on what was really happening behind those closed doors. Legal experts are already buzzing that if this video holds up under scrutiny, it won't just be a bad PR week for Diddy. It could trigger an entirely new wave of lawsuits or even lead to federal criminal charges. It's wild to think that Justin, who spent years dodging these questions, might be the one to deliver the final blow.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my number.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the whole story regarding their relationship. The mentor or the monster. To understand why this alleged footage is so explosive, you have to go back to the beginning. Justin burst onto the scene as a kid with a voice that stopped the world in its tracks. He was young, impressionable, and thrust into a world of adults who didn't always have his best interests at heart. Enter Usher, the R&B legend who helped shape Bieber's career, and by extension, Usher's own mentor, Sean Diddy Combs. Back in the day, being in Diddy's orbit was the ultimate status symbol. It meant glitz, money, and an A-list lifestyle that most people only see in movies. But behind the flash of the paparazzi cameras, there was always a whisper. People in the industry talked about the exclusive parties, the blurred lines, and the young artists who seemed to get pulled into his world a little too deep. Justin was one of them. You've seen the photos of them hanging out, looking like best buds, but the tone has shifted hard. We aren't looking at those photos with nostalgia anymore. We're looking at them with suspicion. The internet has been dissecting those old interactions, specifically that 48 hours comment. Diddy joked about them hanging out, doing things they couldn't really disclose. At the time, the audience laughed. Now, that sentence sends a chill down your spine. It raises the question, was Justin just another young star swept up in the fast lane, or was he being groomed for something much darker? And as the trial heats up, it seems like we might finally get an answer. The strategic silence. Here is where things get really interesting from a legal perspective. Fast forward to the trial, and the atmosphere in the courtroom is reportedly thick enough to cut with a knife. When Justin Bieber's name was brought up during the proceedings, insiders say Diddy allegedly went still, his jaw locked, his hands clenched. It was the reaction of a man who knows he's losing control. Justin's team released a statement recently, and if you read between the lines, it's a masterclass in legal maneuvering. Reps for Bieber told TMZ that he himself was not harmed by Diddy, but they added one crucial, devastating line: there are people who were. That sentence is a bombshell. By saying that, Justin is effectively validating the victims without explicitly putting himself in the line of fire. It's a way of saying, I saw what happened, I know the truth, but I'm staying over here. This wasn't a coincidence. This was calculated. With the trial expected to drag on, prosecutors need to show a pattern of behavior. They need to prove that Diddy's actions weren't isolated incidents. When someone as big as Justin Bieber, someone who doesn't need the money and doesn't owe Diddy anything, steps up and hints that others were harmed, it gives the prosecution ammunition. It validates every whisper and every rumor that has been floating around for decades. But while Justin claims he wasn't a victim, his behavior online suggests he's battling some serious demons. The cry for help and the yummy theory.
When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He had
time.
the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
There was that video of him strumming a guitar with the caption, "I hate myself sometimes." That isn't just a sad post. That sounds like a cry for help from someone who is reliving a trauma they never fully processed. This brings us to one of the darkest theories on the internet, the yummy video. For years, fans have speculated that Justin has been trying to tell us the truth through his art. In the yummy video, Justin is feasting at a high society dinner, but the vibe is off. It's grotesque. At the end, there's a shot of his own face on a plate. Fans have pointed out that this mirrors imagery used by other artists and photographers linked to Diddy's circle, specifically imagery involving plates and tied-up models. The theory suggests that Justin is signaling that he was served up to the industry elites. Whether you believe the conspiracy theories or not, you can't deny that the timing of his erratic behavior aligns perfectly with the resurfacing of the Diddy allegations. People close to the situation have hinted that Justin is triggered. Imagine spending your life trying to bury these memories, only to have them plastered on every news station in the country. It's enough to break anyone. But while Justin deals with his past, Diddy is facing a very real, very present threat in the form of Cassie Ventura. It was a kingdom built on hits, champagne, and an untouchable aura of black excellence. For 3 decades, Sean Diddy Combs wasn't just a man, he was a gatekeeper, a kingmaker. But today, the king is in a cage. As we speak, one of the wealthiest men in music history sits inside the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a facility notorious for its grim conditions. Denied bail not once, not twice, but multiple times. Why? Because the government believes he is not just a criminal, but the head of a racketeering enterprise that chewed up human beings and spit them out. We are watching the total collapse of a legacy. But to understand the ending, we have to understand the spark that burned the house down. It starts with a brave woman, a hallway video, and 2 words that have now entered the dark lexicon of pop culture history: freak-offs. And in the shadows of this crumbling empire, the world is looking at one person, the Prince of Pop, Justin Bieber. Is his silence a sign of peace, or is it the silence of a man who saw too much, too young? This is the full story, the details they didn't want you to know. The nuclear weapon. If Justin Bieber's silence is damaging, Cassie Ventura's testimony is a nuclear weapon. Let's be clear about the timeline, because this is where the media often gets it twisted. Cassie didn't testify in the criminal trial that is set for May 2025, not yet. But in November 2023, she filed a lawsuit that acted as the Rosetta Stone for federal investigators. It was a document so explosive, Diddy settled it in less than 24 hours. He thought paying millions would make it go away. He was wrong. Cassie detailed a relationship that wasn't just toxic, it was a systematically controlled nightmare. She introduced the court and the world to the term freak-offs. Now, thanks to the federal indictment unsealed in September 2024, we know that what Cassie described wasn't just a wild party. It was, according to prosecutors, a logistical operation. These events were allegedly drug-fueled, days-long marathons that Diddy planned and controlled down to the second. The details are harrowing. We aren't talking about a few drinks. We are talking about industrial-grade coercion. The indictment alleges that Diddy and his staff coordinated the travel of male commercial sex workers across state lines, a direct violation of the Mann Act. But it gets darker. Cassie described, and the feds later corroborated, that these sessions would last so long that the participants would require IV fluids just to recover from the physical exhaustion and drug toxicity. Prosecutors allege that Diddy distributed narcotics like ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB to keep the victims obedient and compliant. And the supplies? When Homeland Security raided Diddy's mansions in Miami and Los Angeles in March 2024, they didn't just find luxury cars. They found AR-15 components with defaced serial numbers. They found narcotics, and in a detail that went viral for its sheer absurdity and horror, they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Think about that number, 1,000. That is not for personal use. That is inventory for a factory of abuse. Cassie told the world she felt a responsibility to keep him happy, terrified that if she didn't do exactly what he wanted, if she didn't participate in these freak-offs while he watched and masturbated, he would explode. She described the humiliation of being filmed without her consent, the cameras rolling while she was in a drug-induced haze. This brings us to the leverage, the blackmail. Cassie claimed, and prosecutors now allege, that Diddy used these recordings as collateral. It was the ultimate leash. If you leave, the world sees the tape. It paints a picture of a man who didn't want companionship. He wanted total domination and ownership over another human being. The tape that do not lie. For years, Diddy's defense strategy was simple: deny, deny, deny. He called the accusations money grabs. He called his accusers liars. His lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, has tried to frame the freak-offs as consensual, private acts between adults, just a toxic relationship. But you cannot spin the Intercontinental Hotel footage. Released by CNN in May 2024, the security footage from 2016 changed everything. It shows Diddy wearing nothing but a towel, sprinting down a hotel hallway to chase Cassie, who was trying to leave. He grabs her by the back of the neck. He throws her to the floor. He kicks her. He drags her back toward the room like a piece of luggage. When that video hit the internet, the air left the room. It's one thing to read a lawsuit. It's another thing entirely to watch the violence happen in black and white. Reports say that when this evidence was discussed during bail hearings, even the judges appeared disturbed. The defense tried to spin it. They claimed Diddy went to rehab afterward, that he was sorry. Diddy himself released an Instagram video, looking somber, claiming he was disgusted by his actions. But the public didn't buy it. Why? Because in the original police reports from that night, the incident was buried. The hotel surveillance tape famously disappeared for years, until it didn't. The indictment alleges that Diddy tried to bribe hotel security $50,000 to erase that footage. This video validates everything Cassie said. It proves that the violence wasn't just in her head, it was real. It lends massive credibility to the other claims, the ones we don't have video of. If he was willing to do that in a public hotel hallway, what was he doing behind the gates of his Star Island mansion? This is why the rumors of other leaked footage are so terrifying for Diddy's team. If one video could do this much damage, imagine what a second one could do. Prosecutors have hinted they possess terabytes of data seized from his devices, videos that reportedly corroborate the freak-off allegations. The defense's failed gambit. Diddy's legal team is currently fighting a war on two fronts, the court of law and the court of public opinion. They are losing both. In the bail hearings, they tried to argue that Diddy was trustworthy, offering a $50 million bond package. They offered to ban all female visitors. They offered GPS monitoring. The judges said no. Why? Because of witness tampering. Prosecutors allege that Diddy has been contacting victims and witnesses from inside the jail, using other inmates' phone access codes to obscure his tracks. This is a man who allegedly cannot stop trying to control the narrative, even from behind bars. And let's look at how they treated Cassie. Before the settlement, and even now in the subtext of their defense, the strategy was ruthless. They pulled out texts where she wrote things like, "I am always ready to freak off," trying to paint her as a willing participant. But this backfired. The public now understands the psychology of coercive control. When you are with a powerful billionaire who controls your career, your finances, and your safety, you say what you need to say to survive. You convince yourself you want it just to get through the night. Cassie admitted to her own drug use. She owned her struggle. She explained that she used the substances to numb herself to the reality he created. By owning her flaws, she made herself bulletproof. She wasn't trying to be a saint. She was telling the truth. Her lawyer's statement after the settlement hit harder than any cross-examination ever could. The more I heal, the more I can remember. And the more I can remember, the more I will never forget. The Avalanche. If Cassie was the earthquake, what followed was the tsunami. Enter Tony Busby. In October 2024, this Texas-based attorney held a press conference that shocked the world. He announced that he is representing 120 new victims. The demographics are staggering: 60 men, 60 women. But the most chilling statistic? 25 of them were minors at the time of the alleged abuse. Busby stated that one victim was a 9-year-old boy who was allegedly abused under the guise of getting a record deal. These aren't just party allegations. These are allegations of violent sexual assault, drugging with horse tranquilizers, and the same freak-off patterns described in the federal indictment. A hotline set up by Busby's firm received over 3,000 calls in a matter of days. This destroys the jilted ex-lover defense. You can dismiss one person. You can dismiss two. You cannot dismiss 120 people, unrelated to each other, spanning 20 years, all telling variations of the same horror story. The Justin Bieber connection. And this brings us to the question everyone is asking, the question that trends every time a new detail drops. Where is Justin Bieber? We have a music mogul whose legacy is crumbling. We have brave women exposing the machinery. And we have Justin, the Prince of Pop, standing on the sidelines. But his silence is the loudest thing in the room. Let's look at the facts. Justin Bieber has not been accused of any crime. He is not a defendant. But the internet has become obsessed with his proximity to Diddy during his most vulnerable years. Resurfaced footage from 2009 shows a 15-year-old Justin spending 48 hours with Diddy. In the clip, Diddy says, "He is having 48 hours with Diddy. We cannot really disclose what we are doing, but it is definitely a 15-year-old's dream." Looking at that clip now through the lens of the 2024 indictment gives people chills. Then there's the video of a young Justin visibly uncomfortable when Diddy asks him why he hasn't been calling, why they don't hang out anymore. You see a boy who looks guarded, careful. Sources close to Bieber have told outlets like People and Us Weekly that Justin is disturbed by the news. He has reportedly shut himself off from the world to focus on his wife Hailey and their newborn son, Jack Blues Bieber. His representatives have issued statements clarifying that Justin is not involved in the freak-offs and has no desire to relive the past. He recently collaborated on a song where he sings about protecting his peace. But is this just about peace, or is it about trauma? Many believe Justin's erratic years, the drugs, the outbursts, the Yummy music video, which fans theorize is about industry abuse, were cries for help. If Diddy was the gatekeeper and Justin was the golden child, what was the price of admission? Here is the reality. Justin Bieber does not owe us his trauma. If he was a victim, he has the right to process that in private. But his name keeps coming up because he represents the children of the industry. He represents everyone who was handed over to powerful men by parents and managers who were blinded by fame. Whether Justin testifies, whether he ever speaks about Diddy again, his distance from the situation is telling. He isn't defending his old mentor. He isn't posting support. He's ghosting the man who once gave him a Lamborghini. And in Hollywood, that kind of silence is a condemnation. Conclusion: the end of an era. So where does this leave us? Diddy is currently sitting in a federal detention center facing a trial that begins May 5, 2025. If convicted on the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, he faces a mandatory minimum of 15 years and potentially life in prison. The freak-offs have been exposed not as parties, but as alleged crime scenes. The baby oil jokes on social media mask a terrifying reality of coercion and physical toll. This is more than just a celebrity scandal. It's a reckoning. It's about the people who got chewed up and spit out by an industry that values hits over human lives. It's about a culture that looked the other way for 30 years because the music was good and the champagne was cold. The 48 hours are up. The 1,000 bottles are evidence, and the real story is just beginning. As we march toward the trial in 2025, expect more names to drop. Tony Busby has warned that powerful people participated in these events and that the list of accomplices is long. Diddy might be the king falling, but he might take the whole court down with him. What do you think? Is Justin's silence a sign of healing, or is he waiting for the right moment to speak? Do you believe the defense's claim that this is a takedown of a successful man, or is the evidence insurmountable? Comment down below and let us know. If you want to stay updated on this trial, because trust me, every day brings a new revelation, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. We'll be tracking every move, every leak, and every verdict. I'll see you in the next video.